Good afternoon. I'm Monica Hendrickson, the Public Health Administrator for the Peoria City County Health Department, and welcome to our weekly COVID update for the Tri-County region. As of Thursday, December 10th, the Tri-County of Peoria, Tazewell, and Woodford is reporting 21,211 cases to date. Again, that is 21,211. That's an increase of 2,136 cases this time last week. These additional cases include an additional 1,030 for Peoria County, bringing our to-date total to 10,781. Additional 849 for Tazewell County, bringing their total to 8,240. And an additional 257 for Woodford County, bringing their total to 2,190. In regards to the lives lost in our Tri-County to date, we are at 299 to date. That's an increase of 30 from last week. That includes 9 additional deaths in Peoria County, bringing our total to 146. 21 over the past week for Tazewell County, bringing them to 123. And no new deaths to report in Woodford County as they remain at 30. Overall, we've seen a slight decrease in our daily cases to date. However, we expect to see that surge start coming as we're starting to see more and more of our cases communicate with us about travel during Thanksgiving and individuals they've been in close contact with. Overall, 68% of our cases are considered recovered in the Tri-County, 30% are at home and isolating, and 0.5 are hospitalized. In regards to our hospital data, in comparison to last week, we're pretty much stabilized overall. Right now we're sitting at 48 ICU beds in use, 3 for persons under investigation and 45 for confirmed ICU, as well as 135 non-ICU beds in use. Both hospital systems are reporting no new deaths in the past 24 hours. In regards to some deaths we do want to report for our Tri-County, we're saddened to update with 2 additional deaths in Peoria, a male in his 20s and a male in his 60s, both with comorbidities. As well as in Tazewell County, they're reporting 3 additional deaths, a female in her 90s, a resident of Hallmark Healthcare in Pekin, which is experiencing an outbreak, as well as another female from the same facility in her hundreds, and a male in his hundreds. We know there's a lot of exciting news, especially today, that we're all monitoring and wanting to see the next steps for. So kind of discuss more about vaccinations as well as overall the infection control measures that are being done within the hospital systems and what the next few months are going to look like. I'd like to welcome Dr. Casper from OSF Infectious Disease.
Hello, thank you, Monica. So my name is Dr. Douglas Casper. I'm the section head of infectious disease at University of Illinois College of Medicine at Peoria and OSF St. Francis Medical Center. We are here today to discuss advances with the COVID-19 vaccine. We are awaiting FDA review as we speak about potential for emergency use authorization where the vaccine would become available throughout the United States. Authorization has been granted in the last week to Britain and Canada as recently as yesterday, and so the hope is that the United States will follow suit as later to be determined later today. Vaccination within a calendar year from the start of this pandemic is a monumental feat. We are talking about identification of a novel virus, isolating its genetic sequence, and then mapping that sequence to determine which portion controls activity within humans to cause disease. Creation of a product that is safe across ages, races, and genders, and then synthesis of that product at a very large level to be administered to a population not only in central Illinois, but across the United States. That has not been done lightly. This is done across all sectors of our community, including business, medicine, public health, education, industry. And so we are very hopeful with the phase 3 trial results from companies such as Pfizer and Moderna that the success and efficacy of this vaccine has been estimated to be upwards of 94%. What I would like to bring up for a discussion is that this type of vaccine is a new technology. It is referred to as mRNA or messenger RNA, and it is different than vaccines that people may be used to receiving on a yearly basis, such as influenza vaccine. The proposed vaccine for COVID-19 infection does not include any live virus or any inactivated virus. What it includes is a script telling our bodies to create a specific protein that the virus uses to dock to human cells. Our immune system recognizes that protein and creates an immune response that can be used if we are ever exposed to the virus naturally down the road. The success of the vaccine is preventing both moderate and severe outcomes from COVID-19 infection in populations to date that have been tested greater than 18 years old. Impending research with pediatric populations is upcoming. And so questions about safety of the vaccine were estimated across phase 3 trials that included more than 70,000 people in both combined in the Pfizer and Moderna trials, with no serious side effects within that population, and reported side effects that are typical for vaccine administration, including pain at the vaccine site, muscle pain, and headaches being less than 2% of people to receive the vaccine. It is true that there will still be information to come about distribution, availability, manufacturing, but the creation of this vaccine and the impending approval is a wonder for our fight against COVID-19 pandemic. And so I'll open it up to any questions about specifics about vaccine, timeline, or any others at this point.
Doctor, one thing I've heard from some people who actually have had COVID-19 already is that I'm immune to the virus, I don't need to get this vaccine. What's your response to that?
Yeah, so the question is in regards to people that have already been infected with COVID-19 and presumably have natural immunity and their need to have vaccination. In the phase 2 and 3 vaccine trials, those that received the vaccine when compared with natural immunity, the vaccine cohort had antibody levels, so levels of immunity greater than 5 to 10 times those sustained over people with natural infection. What is not known at this point is exactly how long immunity lasts. And so achieving higher rates of immunity, even over the short term, is preferable for protection in a population. And so while there will be some refinement on exactly timing and sequence for people to receive vaccine, the recommendation will be for those even that have previously contracted COVID-19 to receive vaccination.
Will you be vaccinated every year for this, or is this a one-time thing?
The question is about need for repeat vaccination on a yearly basis, and the answer is we're not sure. The FDA has stated that they're going to follow the initial vaccine data for upwards of 2 years on participants to determine the length of protection. We know that antibody levels seem to peak at about 6 weeks post the first dose, with a second booster dose being given either at 3 or 4 weeks. But even at that peak, it provides protection as it declines for a longer period of time. Additionally, there are other mechanisms of immunity that include T-cell responses. And so a conservative estimate is the vaccine should provide immunity for upwards of 9 months, but the full duration has not yet been evaluated.
So doctor, I know there's been a couple isolated cases out in the UK with people who have severe allergy issues or severe allergic reaction to the vaccine. I know that's limited, but I mean, if I usually have an allergic reaction of some kind to, say, like the flu vaccine every year, should I also be concerned or consult my doctor before getting that?
Yeah, the question is about the reports out of Britain with people having anaphylactoid reaction to vaccine, and I use that word very specifically. The data that has been reported is the people who had reaction had very specific type of allergic history, where they had anaphylaxis or swelling of their throat, tongue, and mouth causing airway issues. These patients had this issue prior to vaccine administration, and because of that carried an EpiPen with them. So they were already aware of their severe vaccine history. There are many types of, or allergy history, there are many types of allergic response, and this is a small subset of people that have issues with allergy. So the formal answer is, within the medical community, both Unity Point and OSF, it is common to screen for these types of things prior to administering vaccination. So medical providers will be prompted to discuss this medical history with their patients going forward.
If the FDA is going to approve something today, when can we expect that approval?
So I was refreshing my browser prior to coming up. In real time, the information is supposed to come later today. As some of you have probably read, Peoria has already been named as a hub for storing vaccine for the state of Illinois. You've probably also read that shipments of vaccine have been coming from across Europe into the United States. So the mechanisms are in action. We very much require, and it is a great thing that we have a review board at the FDA level to look at all of the different pieces that come up with vaccine approval and administration. However, I think that what we're seeing across the world with both England, Canada, multiple other countries reviewing this vaccine independently is that it is highly effective across our population. Even given ethnicity, race, age, the benefit is quite high for people to consider receiving this vaccine.
So if we do see the FDA approve this today, how soon is it going to be at OSF for distribution?
So the question is about timeline for distribution, and that answer has to do with amount of vaccine that will be received. And I don't have information on exactly how much vaccine will be received. From my understanding, the vaccine will be distributed from the federal government to the state and then through the health department level. I don't know exact quantities, but I think that that information should be available imminently.
So we're expected to, nursing homes give this vaccine for healthcare workers, that kind of thing. So when can a person, like any of us in this room, maybe of better health expect? Are we looking at like years or?
The question is on timeline for general population administration. From the best estimates that I've seen, and this is all, so there are 2 vaccine manufacturers that have applied for FDA review. The Pfizer vaccine is being reviewed today. The Moderna vaccine is being reviewed next week. Both are mRNA vaccines. Both have the same rate of efficacy of upwards of 90% across populations. Combined, they will offer alternative but a complementary amount of vaccine to be available within the communities. Both are expecting upwards of 100 million doses within the calendar year 2021. And so while production and manufacturing is a separate issue, and there is cold storage issues, and there is administration to rural and vulnerable populations that need to be worked out, sequential rollout into 2021 is likely to occur.
So how has OSF, I mean, it being a hub for the vaccine here, how have you prepared for that cold storage, especially the Pfizer vaccine needs to be kept so cold comparatively to other vaccines?
Yeah, the question is about preparation on a local level at the hospital system for vaccine, both storage and administration. I work exclusively through the university at OSF, so I'll talk about that route. I don't work directly at Unity Point. OSF's leadership structure through a ministry level at their more than 15 hospitals allows them a very good insight into many communities within central Illinois, from the larger areas of Peoria to smaller rural centers across our region. This type of care, administering care both large and small, is what we focus on. And so we network both with educational public health opportunities to provide care as needed. I look at the vaccine as another example of being successful for that, meaning that we will coordinate with small areas, we will work with large areas that service nursing homes, group homes, and even with our judicial system and prison eventually. And so the specific structures do require multiple meetings and discussions to set up a completely new network, But we frequently administer vaccines yearly across many populations, and so this is just another channel, a new product to bring to the community.
Local patients have been given the antibody treatment. For those who have received it, will it thus plan to get the vaccine, right?
The question is about anyone who has previously received either convalescent plasma or synthetic monoclonal antibody. With both of those products, the time frame of remaining within the person is very finite. And so the antibody protection is meant during their period of being infected. As they recover, that antibody production will dwindle and natural immunity will step in. So they really fall into the same cohort as anyone with prior infection, meaning that they would be recommended for vaccination when available. The question is about all populations. The only population that lacks research at this time is pediatrics. And so Moderna has made comments regarding their commitment to testing a clinical trial within pediatric population. There are other vaccine candidates. When I looked last, there were over 160 vaccine trials in some phase across the world, 45 of which were in advanced stages, or approaching advanced stages. We have 3 main candidates, the 2 that I spoke of that have applied for FDA approval, and then a third, which is the Oxford group, which has also received significant financial commitment from the U.S. government for production and eventual consideration. So to fully answer your question, there will likely be multiple products available to multiple different people based on success that will be determined within clinical trial.
And if both vaccines are approved, will patients choose which vaccine they want to receive, or how will that process work?
The question is about which vaccine will be administered. So the answer is it's going to be a timely answer. In the beginning, it's based off of availability within the community matched up to both local, regional, and national rates of infection. As time passes and production increases and there are more choices, then the discussion will likely go between the patient and their physician on what is best based off of their medical history.
Earlier you mentioned 100 million doses. Is that the 2 companies, Pfizer and Moderna, combined, or is that 100 million each?
The question is about overall number of doses. It's been a moving target. Even within the last week, Pfizer has reported some manufacturing product delay, and so their expectation within the calendar year 2020 was refined to, I think, somewhere around 20 million total units. So their estimates, the estimates that I read off of both companies is upwards of 100 million, and I think that that's unique to each of them. And remember that they are also producing for the world population. And so while this is certainly a big problem regionally and even in the States, it is a worldwide pandemic, and so production is to service all.
In terms of pediatric testing, is there like a timeline when that will begin, or is that still kind of gray area?
The question is about pediatric vaccination. Moderna's commitment to trial with the pediatric population has been announced. I'm not sure which phase or which part of they are in with testing. It is all freely searchable, so that stuff is not hidden. It is reported on government websites for ongoing trials. So I'm not sure of the exact time frame, but it is imminently going to be available.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Are there any additional questions?
Monica, we're 2 weeks now out from Thanksgiving. I know you said it might take up to 28 days to really gauge the impact of Thanksgiving travel and get-togethers, but so far, at least of my look at it, it doesn't seem like we're seeing that surge that was predicted. What's your take?
We say 14 to 28 days because that's 2 incubation periods. And I think we saw on a call today with the state that even the number of testing has started to gear back up. We saw a lull around Thanksgiving. So, with testing, you're going to identify more cases as well. Still early to tell, but just from, like I mentioned, our contact tracing, we've had individuals say that, we did have a family get-together. Somebody started experiencing after the fact, and now out of a family of 10, there are 7 that have now contracted the virus. And so again, something that we're monitoring, but we do hope that a lot of people took the advice of making sure it was a smaller, more unique Thanksgiving this year.
So what lessons can we carry away from Thanksgiving as we approach, all the December holidays coming up here?
I think the key to takeaway, both from Thanksgiving that we're going to have to really look at, and this is going to continue far into it, no matter where we are in terms of the initial phases of the vaccination, is that your best bet until we have large-scale medical treatment or that vaccine available is going to be to limit the size and scope of your gatherings. So again, to your immediate household, the people that live in your household, continue to practice the social distancing, washing your hands, and wearing your mask at all times.
Do you have any more details on the man in his 20s who died?
The individual had, like I mentioned, had tested positive for COVID-19, but also had numerous comorbidities.
And as people start to hear about the vaccine, are you or the health department concerned at all that them getting tested, doing contact tracing will start to lower? They hear this vaccine's coming, so they're like, I'll get it.
This is a great question. The question was, with all the interest around vaccine, are people going to become more complacent in terms of just gatherings and taking those precautions? And I think that's a really good point, is that for the vaccine to work, and even when you get vaccinated, you can still get infected, is really going to be through that second dose. And there was a clarification about that, your question about the dosage, if I can segue here quickly. Whatever your first dose is, you're going to have to get the same manufacturer for your second dose, and that's going to be a logistics commentary as well. But with that in mind, you want to continue practicing those precautions, because the first batches are going to be limited, and they're going to be on those groups that are taking direct patient care with COVID, those high-risk individuals. And so when you bring it to the general population, it can be months away. And so to continue practicing the social distancing, that face coverings, all that's going to be key in getting tested. Especially now, we are gearing and starting to come head-to-head with influenza season.
If the FDA approves anything today, how much longer till we have doses being given out in Central Illinois?
It could be weeks. It could be less than a couple of days. The good thing about this is that from a healthcare standpoint, as well as a public health standpoint, we've practiced this, we've exercised this. We actually even had a real-world example during H1N1 when we had to do mass vaccinations as well. So the plans are there. I think right now we're just waiting for, as Dr. Casper mentioned, what that allocation number is going to be. And then as soon as we receive it, quickly distribute it, because with the sensitivity of the Pfizer being at a certain temperature and need to be used within a certain time frame, we want to push that out as fast as possible. Exactly.
So you just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we're all waiting by our phone.
Yeah, I'm sure. Has anyone in Central Illinois been identified, like you're going to be one of the first candidates? Does any person know that?
Not necessarily like who's number one on the list, but we do know those entities. And again, it's recognizing that within the first phase of 1A, we have to even prioritize, just looking at our healthcare community, there's close to 3,000 individuals that would qualify from our healthcare system, hospital setting alone, for 1A. We're not going to get that dosing immediately. So looking through that. And we also want to recognize that we don't want to necessarily vaccinate a group or a type of skill set all at once, because we don't know what their reactions are. So really even kind of staggering it across versus within just one specific type of skill set. Well, hopefully we'll have more exciting news next week. Otherwise, have a great day, you guys.